I'm back with another video. Breaking news is from Japan, where a former prime minister has been assassinated. 67 years old Abe Shinzo has been shot dead. Abe Shinzo served as Japan's prime minister twice, but in 2020 he quit due to health conditions. From a political background, his grandfather served as Japanese prime minister, his father served as foreign minister, and in 1993 Abe Shinzo ran in an election for the first time. Though he quit as PM in 2020, but he was still an influential political figure in Japan. What happened? Who shot him? Where was he assassinated? Reportedly, he was assassinated in Nora city on Friday. He was addressing a public gathering when he was shot dead by a suspect who is 41-year-old. The suspect is an ex-serviceman. He worked in Japan's Maritime Self-Defense Force and he has been arrested. Abe Shinzo was airlifted to a hospital from Nora city from this place of incident where assassination happened, but he could not survive and his death has been confirmed. Now, other news stories. Firstly, I have two updates for you. Last night, I reported about some high-level meetings between Ethiopian and Somaliland officials and Ethiopian and Djibouti officials. What happened in the meetings? We have some updates for you. Secondly, we know that Amhara ethnic group members in diaspora, they are taking out rallies. They are protesting abroad in the US, in Europe. We have seen several rallies. A few hours ago, a protest was held in Washington, D.C. It seems that now these rallies are getting bigger. Next two stories from Gondar viewers, where we know that several Gondar University students were arrested a few days ago when Ethiopian government forces launched a crackdown on university students who protested against Valaga massacre. Reportedly, some students have been released. Then viewers, we have a new story about Ethiopian Intelligence Agency, NIS, National Intelligence and Security Agency Services, a top intelligence body in Ethiopia. Ethiopian government wants to re-establish NIS. Ethiopian government wants to give more powers to NIS, and a draft proclamation has been approved at Ethiopian parliament to grant more powers to intelligence agency. Next, we have a new story about Damake Mekonnen, Deputy Prime Minister, Foreign Minister of Ethiopia, who is in Senegal these days, and he is requesting the world that the world should help, financially help Ethiopian government. And lastly, Eritrea. A researcher, an analyst, traveled to Eritrea a few days ago, and he has shared account of his visit. He claims that Isaias Afwerki is receiving just $400 as monthly salary. Eritrean ministers don't have any luxury cars. Eritrea is on its way towards self-sufficiency when it comes to food security, and international media is painting false picture of Eritrea. Who is this analyst? Is he pro-Eritrea? We'll try to analyze his article which he wrote about Eritrea after the visit. Firstly, viewers, two updates for you. A top Ethiopian delegation was in Somaliland yesterday. Ridwan Hussein, National Security Advisor, Minister of Transport and Logistics, and other top officials were part of the delegation. They held meetings with Somaliland's government officials, Somaliland's foreign minister as well. Somaliland is a self-declared country. I always say that Somalia's position is that Somaliland is part of Somalia. So it's a self-declared country. Discussions were held about Berbera port, the port which started its operations last year, and in 2018 Ethiopia announced to be a stakeholder in the port with 19% shares. But later it was said by Somaliland's officials that Ethiopia could not honor its commitment. That is why Ethiopia was no more a stakeholder in Berbera port. Berbera port has been completed, its construction. Extension is underway. UAE's DP World is the main shareholder in Berbera port's construction. Now Ethiopia wants to use this port. That is why this top delegation visited Somaliland. Discussions were held. What happened there? Reportedly, a committee has been formed. The committee will hold discussions for 1 month, and it will resolve outstanding bilateral issues. Some agreements have been signed but not made public so far. So maybe Ethiopia wants to resolve the issue regarding its 19% share, which was denied by Somaliland officials a few days ago. So we'll be able to say something about this visit after a few days when this committee starts its work. So far, committee has been formed which will resolve issues, bilateral issues in 1 month. Secondly, another Ethiopian delegation was in Djibouti. Ahmed Shide, Ethiopian finance minister, was leading the delegation. Djibouti-Ethiopia trade relations have recently been very strained. Djibouti banned kath imports from Ethiopia a few days ago. It's called kath or chat. Some say it's called chat. Then Djibouti was demanding increase in port fees as well. Djibouti was demanding a binding agreement with Ethiopia that Ethiopia won't use other ports, especially for fuel transportation. So there have been tensions in Djibouti-Ethiopia trade relations. That is why Ahmed Shide was in Djibouti yesterday, and there again a commission has been formed which will resolve bilateral issues. And reportedly, the dispute over kath prices has been resolved, and Djibouti is likely to resume imports of kath from Ethiopia in coming days. Now, here's some news stories. Firstly, Washington, D.C. We know that Ethiopian diaspora members from Amhara ethnic group, they've been protesting in the U.S., in Europe. We have seen several rallies. The protests started after Ethiopian government, Amhara regional government, launched an operation in the Amhara region of Ethiopia to contain, to control Fano militia, and several journalists, activists, Fano fighters, thousands of them have been arrested so far. The rallies which we saw in the past were relatively small rallies, but it seems that the rallies are now getting bigger. A few hours ago in Washington, D.C., a rally was taken out, and it was a bigger rally if you compare it with previous rallies in the U.S. or in Europe. After Velaga massacre, people are angry, especially Amharas are angry, and they accuse Ethiopian federal government, Oromian regional government, that they are complicit in the killings of ethnic Amhara group members in Oromia and other parts of Ethiopia. Watch these clips from Washington DC's rally. You can see that this rally is bigger than previous rallies.
USA! USA! We need justice! We need justice! Now! Now! We need justice! We need killing! The genocide of Amhara people in Ethiopia! I am Fondo! I am Fondo! Fondo is a farmer! Fondo!
Gondar viewers, next news story from Gondar. We know that dozens of students have been arrested in the Amhara region of Ethiopia since students started protesting against Valaga massacre, which was committed last month. Hundreds of innocent civilians were killed, mostly ethnic Amharas in Valaga, Oromia, and we saw massive demonstrations at Gondar University, Debre Marcos University, Addis Ababa University, Wallo, Wuldia universities too. Ethiopian government forces, regional federal, launched a crackdown on student leaders. Several were arrested, especially in Gondar. Several student leaders were arrested who were later taken to a court, and some were released yesterday. You can see a picture on your screen. These are Gondar University students who were released by a court yesterday. 11 students were released yesterday by a court. These are Gondar University students. So, our earlier reports have been confirmed now that Gondar University students had been arrested by government forces. Next news story is from Ethiopia again. It's about Ethiopian Intelligence Agency, NIS, National Intelligence and Security Services, led by Tamasgan Tirone. This agency has been accused of high-handedness in the past, in recent days as well, that NIS officials are involved in abductions, in high-handedness, in use of force against dissidents. But Ethiopian government plans to give more powers to NIS. And yesterday, a draft proclamation was approved by Ethiopian Parliament. This proclamation is about re-establishing of NIS. NIS is going to be given more powers. We have not seen this draft proclamation so far. What we have learned is that government wants to grant more powers to NIS. NIS is already under criticism that its officials are involved in high-handedness, and whoever speaks against or whoever criticizes the Ethiopian government, Ethiopian PM, are abducted by NIS officials. But NIS is going to be given more powers through voting. This draft proclamation has been approved at Ethiopian Parliament a few hours ago. Sixthly, viewers, we have a new story about Damake Mekonnen, who is Deputy Prime Minister, Ethiopian Foreign Minister as well. He was in Dakar, Senegal yesterday, and there he attended World Bank's International Development Association Summit, where he delivered a speech and he urged international community that Ethiopia is in need of financial assistance to recover from the aftermath of conflict and drought. World Bank is already helping Ethiopia. In recent weeks, World Bank has approved 3 grants for Ethiopian government. But Ethiopian government says it's in need of more. EU is also increasing its humanitarian aid for Ethiopia. EU has not restored financial budgetary aid for Ethiopia, but EU is stepping up its humanitarian support for Ethiopia. And Ethiopian economy is in need of this assistance. That is why it is one of the main factors that government decided against militarily entering Tigray. PM Abiy's government decided against launching military offensive on Tigray last year. After Tigray forces withdrew, they had to withdraw after suffering losses from Amhara and Afar regions. Economic indicators are not very encouraging. That is why Ethiopian government wants financial aid, loans, grants, and on the other hand, we see that international financial institutions, they want Ethiopian government to do more. They're using carrot and stick policy. 2 bills are pending at US House and Senate, 3199, 6600, both propose sanctions on Ethiopian and Eritrean governments. So on the one hand, bills are pending. On the other hand, Ethiopian government is being given small grants to make Ethiopian government start talks with Tigray government to find a political solution to Tigray conflict. And Damake's speech is an open, a clear confirmation that Ethiopian economy is in shambles, and the main factor behind government's decision to reconcile, to talk to Tigray is economic indicators. World is helping Ethiopia, but world wants Ethiopia to do more. EU 2 days ago urged Ethiopian government to restore basic services in Tigray like banking, telecom, and which could be restored in coming days. So far, no start of talks. But according to an Ethiopian diplomat, first meeting could be held in coming days between Tigray and Ethiopian government's negotiators. Several Eritrean viewers shared an article with me, and they say that this article is about Eritrean progress towards self-sufficiency in food security. They say that Eritrea is making progress, world is acknowledging, and you are silent because you are anti-Eritrea. The article has been written by Abdi Wahab Sheikh Abdi Samad. Abdi Wahab is a researcher based in Nairobi, Kenya. I think he is Somali. He is very critical of PM Roble. Last year, Abdi Wahab went missing. For some time, he remained missing. Later, he was recovered. So he is anti-Roble, former PM of Somalia, and you can say that he is pro-Eritrea. He traveled to Eritrea a few days ago. He held high-level meetings. Eritrean agriculture minister, other ministers, they welcomed him and they briefed him about Eritrean agricultural progress. And after this visit, Abdi Wahab wrote this article. Abdi Wahab claims that in Eritrea, crop yields, fruit, vegetable production have increased manifold, and Eritrea is on its way towards self-sufficiency when it comes to food security. And Horn of Africa countries should follow suit. Africa should follow suit. And he made a revelation. He said that Isaias Afwerki is getting just $400 as monthly salary, 6,000 nakfas, and Eritrean ministers have no luxury cars, there is no corruption, there is peace, there is security, and world is painting a very false picture of Eritrea. It's a very stable, very peaceful, very prosperous country. On the other hand, just last week we saw some numbers shared by Business Inside Africa. This news source claimed that in Eritrea, debt to GDP ratio is the highest in Africa, 175.1% debt to GDP ratio. So Eritrea is deep in debt according to Business Inside Africa. But Abdi Wahab is all praise for Eritrean economy, for Eritrean agriculture sector, for Eritrean government officials, for Eritrean president. Yes, Eritrea has made some progress when it comes to agricultural yields. Some independent sources have also confirmed that Eritrean agricultural yields are increasing. Like we are seeing in Ethiopia as well, that wheat production is increasing in Ethiopia. But problem is that when it comes to entire picture of economy, the indicators being shared by international financial institutions are not very encouraging. Eritrea is more stable than Ethiopia, than Sudan, than Somalia, because there are no internal conflicts in Eritrea. But problem is that Eritrean natural resources are still unexplored. Eritrea has not been able to get foreign investments, though Russia, China are investing, but Eritrea has not been able to attract large foreign investments. And then Eritrean capital is fleeing. Human capital. That's the most important factor, viewers. Human capital builds a country. When youth flees a country, who will build the country? And those who flee Eritrea, they prefer to remain in foreign countries. They return to Eritrea for holidays, to meet the families, the relatives. But they don't want to live in Eritrea permanently. That's the main problem, that this human capital flight should be stopped by Eritrean government.